I see Jim's here. iPhone in the past has sometimes been our other Jim. Don't always know. I see Tim has joined us. We got a bunch of people coming in, so this is good. Interested to see how everybody's staying warm right now. How are the horses?
Oh, the horses are doing good. They're old horses, but they're troopers.
Yeah.
And I've had to go out there, and my wife hurt her wrist falling on the ice going to the horse barn.
Oh
So
no.
I've been having to go out there every morning before work at 6 o'clock and feed them. And boy, it's been a little brutal with this temperature below zero. Uh, but they're a lot tougher than us humans are.
Right. Yeah. They don't need nearly as much entertainment or, or whatever else.
Yeah, they're pretty self-sustaining. You keep food and water in front of them, and that's all they need.
Although to be fair, that's pretty much me as well. I got food and water
Yeah.
and
Do we need a little bit of socialization? Maybe.
you know,
What would you guys think about 73 degrees down here in St. Petersburg?
oh, uh,
Who's in St. Petersburg?
Jim Dunn is down there.
Uh,
I will be
yeah.
in Orlando this time next week, so I will be I'll be there.
Um, well, that's excellent. You got her hooked up now, Ben?
I think we are. I think we're live over on Facebook. Hopefully, there's not an echo on me. So we'll see if anybody wants to say that I'm, echoing over there because sometimes it's grabbing it twice.
Yeah.
Um, I wanted to start. I know we did this when we first started, but uh, if anybody's got anything exciting to share, things that are happening in their business, I always love hearing when people are doing cool jobs or interesting jobs, or maybe they had uh, something exciting happen. I will start because I'm not wearing my traditional service booster gear today. Today I'm repping the University of Illinois, who my son got into the fourth best engineering school in the nation. So he's a senior, and that was on his top of his list. He's also looking at Iowa State, but those of you who aren't familiar with where Dave and I are, we're about 45 minutes from Champaign-Urbana, where University of Illinois is. So my preference is that he goes there because he can still come home and fix stuff around my house for me. Um, I am very blessed to have a son who is also, he's an engineer. He likes, he wants to be it's actually going into electrical engineering. So he's an electrician without the license, but he is a kid that I can go, hey, go put an outlet behind the refrigerator for me. And it's not to say I can't do that. I just now have someone that lives with me that I pay for their food and room and board. So he feels obligated to but yeah, we have different rules in our house. Like, don't be on the roof if no one's home. Don't work with 220 without a friend nearby. Different rules for 18-year-olds, right?
Well, just so you know, Ben, not to be the bearer of bad news, but about 3 months of college and he'll forget your name.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
As my remembering goes. Uh,
he's not getting a car over there, so he'll at least keep me in his phone for a ride. Uh, Come Thanksgiving, I think
Got
he,
it.
but yeah, I mean, there's a difference between a 45-minute drive to school and then, Iowa State that's 5 hours from us. I'm like, I can't just run and grab you and bring you home for the weekend if you're
Sure.
interested. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I
however,
agree.
Iowa State has been throwing money at him to come. And so that is a hard, and we just, U of I is, I think now at about 42,000 a year, which is just delightful. So,
Yes. Yes.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
Absolutely
Good thing
crazy.
we have houses to refinance to get our kids through college, right?
right at 9%. My house is currently at 2.75%. A refi to 9% for college will kill
Yeah,
us. Yeah,
yeah, it's
I'll be
crazy.
running a deal on websites real soon. Come around August.
uh, yeah, has anybody else got anything exciting that is going on?
I don't know who we got. We got
I got
Tim
a,
here.
I got a question for you, David. Do you guys have much uh, radon jobs where you have ductwork under slab on grade houses?
Well, we sure do, and uh, it's funny because in my neck of the woods, even if those houses were typically built right after World War II, National Homes was one of the, and it was exactly that. It was a nationwide company that built homes because there was a home shortage. But they were famous for doing the slab home with the ductwork underneath, and sometimes it's round asbestos, which is a solid one. But I have got into some that put plain old galvanized ductwork, and that's a nightmare, as you know. But the other thing we've run into is they were real good about putting things like river rock under the floor way before the modern homes started doing that because they had to try to protect that ductwork. However, I tell everyone that's a customer, please be very careful when you get one of those and shine a camera down in that ductwork and take a good look at it, and then hook some kind of a vacuum up and do some smoke testing on that ductwork because your fan can't outweigh the blower on a furnace, or it shouldn't. So anyway, what was your comment about it, Jim?
Well, we have a lot of that in our area, and it's one thing when you got galvanized duct, but we have a lot of houses that have clay duct.
Yes,
And those clay duct are usually 4 foot long pieces that have a bell end, and they
yes,
just basically butt together.
yes,
When you try to create a vacuum underneath the house that has that kind of ductwork, it's almost impossible. If the furnace is not running, maybe. But once that furnace kicks on, you really lose it. You can't get a good vacuum under it. So we don't typically guarantee that we're going to get your radon levels down in a house that has that kind of ductwork. However, about 2 years ago, we got set up as a dealer for a company called AeroSeal.
yeah,
And AeroSeal makes a product that you can inject into ductwork. You pressurize the ductwork, you inject this aerosol into the ductwork, it finds the leaks and builds on itself and seals up all the leaky ductwork under the house. We've done about 30, maybe 35 of them now, and it really helps to make not only enhance the radon system, but basically solve the problem that you're having and make the radon levels go away.
yeah. I'm really glad you mentioned that because I think I'd heard that through the grapevine. I'm constantly referring people to the fact that I know there's companies out there that do have a sealing process for leaky ducts under the floor, but wasn't familiar enough. And I apologize to you. Make that contact available to everyone that watches this because uh, I forgot, and once again, I apologize. I forgot that I'd heard through the grapevine that you had that method of doing that. When I'm on the phone constantly saying, "Well, there's somebody out there. Just do some research." So I'd appreciate if you'd make that available because you're right. I mean, there's clay ductwork, there's even galvanized ductwork that's rotted out, and for that matter, you can't. It's very difficult to inspect that ductwork. So who knows? Who knows what you can't see?
The reason I mentioned that was because I may be like, if you'd like, Ben, maybe Jordan and Jamie and I could get together and make a little show for it. We want to do a presentation at the next international symposium because AeroSeal doesn't seem to understand that their product is important to radon contractors.
Yeah,
And they're headquartered actually in Dayton, Ohio, but they're international. And we're trying to convince them you need to actually pay us to go to the symposium and
sure.
do a demonstration because this is valuable for you. You're looking for dealers
Yeah.
You need to be looking at the radon industry.
Well, Jim, you
Yeah.
said, or didn't you guys do Jamie's house? And there was a big discrepancy in the temperature in like a back bedroom. And after you did it, it fixed that.
Yes, he had a pretty decent sized 2-story house with a basement. The furnace is down in the basement, and his youngest child lives in a bedroom on the second floor, furthest away from the furnace, and he couldn't keep that temperature controlled within 7 degrees of the thermostat. And then
Yeah.
after he had his returns and his supplies sealed up, he was able to get it within 1 or 2 degrees. So it makes a difference.
Yeah.
So you do ductwork sealing that's more than just below concrete floor.
Oh yeah, it really wasn't designed because of a leaky ductwork under a slab, David. It was really designed to improve the energy efficiency of the home.
Okay, got it.
But it just so happens it really helps slab on grade houses with leaky ductwork.
Yeah, excellent. So it serves more than one use.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
It does seem like a great thing for mitigators who might have some holes in their schedule that would be something that they could supplement and as a very obvious ancillary business to run to have as part of their you know their business.
I will say we put a fairly hefty investment into the equipment, and it's a fully rigged trailer and pickup truck, but now we have radon contractors in our backyard that are calling us. We'll go out and fix the ductwork, and they do the mitigation. We don't go after their customer. They got a problem, they call us up, and working together with some of our competitors actually.
well, excellent. And I don't mean to get off track, but I'm thinking that balancing, as we all know, the more you run this business, you realize how much balancing has to do with numbers to begin with. And as an example, I was hired to do a very large library on the Illinois State University campus. It happened to be a public library, but just was on that campus. And the director of that library and his librarians were sort of totally panicked about it and said, "What can we do before you get here? Is there anything we can do starting tomorrow to improve the radon element that my librarians are sitting in this library?" And I said, "Well, let me talk to your HVAC guy." And I'm not trying to get off track here, but I said, "Let me talk to your HVAC guy." And so I said, "Look, what we want to do is make more air exchanges an hour, uh, and see if that helps." And so he was able to accomplish that, but it was supposed to be on a temporary basis. And he took these numbers from 8 to 12 down to below 4 by creating so many air exchanges per hour to change it. And he did just a few other tweaks too, based on I was trying to tell him how radon infiltration worked. And so he was trying to pressurize the building and do air exchanges, and it was in the middle of the fall season that it made it difficult for him. But the funny thing is, of course, then I went ahead and did the mitigation because it was supposed to be temporary, and besides that, you can't count on the next contractor coming in and keeping those scenarios that he created. Was supposed to be temporary. But the funny part of the story is when it was all over, he had them all down to say three or so. And when I got done, I called him up and said, "Well, go ahead and put it back to where it was." And he said, "Well, I like it where it's at so much, I'm just going to leave it." And so I think that, not to get off track, but the bottom line is if you can help balance HVAC systems, it can also change the dynamics of radon in a home. Do you agree?
Oh, 100%. And actually, commercial buildings, they actually have codes that regulate how much fresh air they need to bring in. They're much more important in a commercial building than it is in a residential. And we'll go into commercial buildings and find that their fresh air intakes are blocked up, and
Yeah,
they're not working the
yeah,
way it's supposed to be working.
sure. You can usually tell when you open the front door.
Yeah, yeah.
Is the building pressurized or not? Well, that's real interesting, and work with Ben. I always say, we've had Daryl Festa, and then we had Bruno, and we had my friend that makes the sniffer equipment that I'm so crazy about, Kai in Canada. And every time we have a guest speaker, I'm so excited about it. But I feel like I'm getting on the basketball court after everybody's watched LeBron James, because if I'm doing the next one and all we're doing is talking general, I feel like, well, wait a minute. These guys are probably saying last week was real exciting, but I don't know about this week.
Well, we're up by
So,
30 points and we've pulled all the starters out. So
yeah. And then everybody starts leaving the bleachers.
yeah,
Uh,
right. Got to beat traffic.
so yeah, let's work with Ben and see about making that a presentation that will work. And just my comment about the week was, or not necessarily the week, but lately, many of my customers are commenting about how they're busier than they thought they were going to be for this time of the year, this month. But also above and beyond that, I've got these customers calling me at an accelerated rate doing larger jobs, apartment buildings. I think just this week I had uh, several call me and say, well, Dave, I just got this apartment building, and I'm going to need this, this, and this. And just at an at a high enough increase that it caught my eye. So I'm not sure what could be boosting the commercial or the apartment and school, especially this lately been apartment buildings. But you get a 24 unit apartment building, you've got some pretty good money coming, because you're not driving an hour to do it every day. But anyway, my comment to start the conversation would be, seems like people are busier than they thought they was going to be, and I'm seeing an uptick in things like apartment buildings.
Well, of course, we're actually busier than we've ever been, but a lot of that has to do with my kids being in the business. Whereas before I was a one-man band,
Yeah, it makes
they're
a
out
big
there.
difference. Sure. You can't be a Bruno unless you hire the help, right?
Right, right.
I talked with someone this week, and he's solid with work. He's doing five. He's a one man band. He's doing 5 jobs a week. But he wants to get to hiring somebody, and I just talked about what we said last week, or what Bruno said. Your first hire is harder than the next 10 combined, right? Because that's when you do work comp. That's when you set up, if you're not already doing payroll. That's when you got to make sure that you have jobs to pay them. You've got to and I'm like, save up some money so that you know that you can pay this person, but get the right people in your corner. Make sure that you have, an accountant who is going to steer you in the right direction, to make sure that you have, you're doing your bookkeeping right, that you're paying the person if they do payroll too. Make sure that you've got your work comp set up. Make sure you've got all your insurances and everything, that you're paying unemployment. These are not 1099 people. So you got to make sure that you're doing it right. And it's a hard, that first, like, jump into that first person. I get it. It's a really hard thing to do, but you cannot grow if you're already maxed out on jobs. And I mean, I suppose you could just double your prices and hope that hope you get more than 50% of the work you're currently doing. But it's a hard thing to do. So
Well, and thank you for that, Ben, because my first little note for the day to try to keep myself on some kind of track was has anybody got any takeaways from Bruno's talk last week? And I also want to say one more time, thanks to Bruno for doing that, because that was a big deal, and I have a lot of people that are either are going to or have already picked up on it later when they weren't at work. But my takeaway from, and remember that Bruno and I go back quite a ways. I think I was Bruno's first contact in the radon business, and him and I and Daryl Festa worked together right away. But my take from it, in my conversations and in Bruno's presentation is, did you guys pick up on the fact that here's what I think is a lot to do with his success, or a portion of his success, is my opinion is, take my area for instance. It's been proven that there's almost 60% of the homes that are tested fail. Now, I'm right here in Central Illinois. 58% of the homes tested fail. But identifying those homes is the next challenge. And Bruno's put a lot of time and effort and money into finding a way to get people to test those homes. Because what little bit of teaching I did, what I always said was, if you, and think about this, if you can find a way for um, a couple or a family to identify that they do have a radon problem, then at least one of those two, husband or wife, and be honest, typically it's the wife, but at least one of those two are not going to be able to sleep until it's fixed. And so one of them is not going to challenge the other one too much because the evidence is there. But what Bruno uh, gifted at, or what he's an expert at, is finding a way through all his test kits and all his uh, follow through. He's found a way to get people to identify that they have a problem. I mean, how many people, I can tell you, 50% of the people in my town don't know they have a problem. And to tell you the truth, to a small degree, they don't want to know because it complicates life. But once they do know, then it's a given. It's a given that they're going to have to fix it. And so I think my takeaway, not to get too repetitive, but my takeaway from Bruno is he's done a good job at making people realize that they have a problem. And so that's my takeaway from
Yeah.
Bruno. And I like what Ben had to say, because Ben, Ben does the other part of it about uh, how you have to be ready from so many. If you want to grow, you have a lot of things you need to be ready to do, including handling employees correctly, and websites and everything else that Bruno covered. So, has anybody else got any comments on what Bruno had to say?
The thing we took away from it, of course, you want to do all those things like good quality workmanship and follow up. But the thing that I got from Bruno more than anything was his marketing expertise, I think, is what makes him. He does the Google thing, and he also does the free radon test kits.
Yeah.
Those two things are something that we need to improve on in
Yes.
our business.
Yes. But just remember, Jim, the American Lung Association and the state of Illinois gave free test kits at every place they could set up a table, and people would throw them in the garbage can before they got out of the building. So it's not just giving away a test kit. You have to find a way to make them use that test kit. And then Bruno did a good thing by going to those labs and saying, I don't think I should have to pay a lab fee for the ones that do get thrown away. So he worked on that deal. But remember that the state of Illinois and the American Lung Association, they work closely together. I was going to actually cover a little bit on that today, but they quit giving them away, and they found that they had a better percentage of people use radon test kits when they sold them for $5. And so that's where Bruno has met the challenge, because he buys thousands and thousands of these things at a time, but he's found a way to get, what was he talking, 70% or something usage. And that's incredible considering what I've seen in the past. But it's all about his marketing, like you say. He's found a way to make it happen. And you probably agree with me, if all these people in your community knew they had a radon issue, and one of the two people or both of the husband and wife sat down and said, let's research radon tonight instead of turning on the television, they'd be calling you before 8 o'clock the next morning. But the first step is identifying it. And most people need a boost if they're not selling their home. Most people need a boost in the identification process.
Now
The
you
key
realize
is, no, go ahead, Jim.
it's not giving the free kit away. His follow-up on those kits
Yes.
and diligent follow-up is,
Yes.
is the key.
Yes.
It's also going after people who are actively looking, who are starting to learn about radon. So if I go and set up at the grocery store and I just pass out kits, those people aren't thinking about radon. But if they saw something, if they saw an ad, if they saw something on TV, if they saw something in their Facebook feed, and they're like, oh, yeah, what is radon? And they type in what is radon on Google, and there's an ad that, that Bruno is running that says, get a free radon test kit. Now you're going after the people who are interested in that thing versus, you know every once in a while you get a Walmart pickup and they'll throw a bag full of free stuff that you don't, a dishwashing detergent you don't want, or something like, I'm going to throw that away because I don't need that right now. But going after people that are actively looking for it it matters in that sense.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And this would be an interesting one for you too, Jim, and maybe you, Ben. But I was talking about the public library that we mitigated, and that director was so concerned about that. I actually thought I was going to really do a lot of buildings within the structure of the city, and we made an agreement that I was going to provide high quality homeowner test kits to the library. And actually, the test kit company was going to split them with me, and we were going to provide 9 test kits for checkout, just like a book. And so any consumer could come in there, check out a test kit through the library, and then I was going to go over there and reset them, or somebody from within my little group was going to go over there and reset them. But I thought that was just a beautiful way to get people to retest too. And some kind of politics stopped it right before it happened.
Uh,
But I just always thought that was a great idea. It just didn't get done.
And if you are a mitigator watching this video today, tomorrow, or a month from now, if that is not the nugget that you pick up, that for $500 you can get 5 coriniums on sale, when they drop down to $99 a piece on Amazon, buy 5 of them, and then go to the library, go somewhere, and create a checkout system that you can drop those off. You only have to get a job from it, right? But even then, we know that the average lifespan on those is going to get a bunch of jobs. That is something that you can absolutely do, and you can put a sticker on it on the back of it and brand it with your information. You're not trying to sell anything because it's their information, they're getting it. So that is a
Right.
easy way to get some business, playing the long game.
Sure. And I always did say that just as an example, even if one of these didn't get returned, if somebody checked it out and didn't bring it back, it's irrelevant because that $100, or some of them are a little more than that, that $100 stayed in that person's hands, and eventually their neighbor borrowed it, or they wanted to test their daughter's home since they basically didn't take it back to begin with. But from your perspective, it's irrelevant because you're going to get 3 to 5 jobs from that piece of equipment anyway, probably more jobs than you're going to get if they would have returned it. And you can replace that one uh, to the library, and it just feeds on itself. And so that may be one little hint to uh, you got to think this way. Bruno touched a little bit on the fact that I was probably the original person. Jim, you may not necessarily agree, but I refused to do real estate from day one, and we're talking maybe 28 years ago when I first became a mitigator. And didn't take me but a couple months to realize, no, I'm not staying in this industry if this is the way I have to do. And so it was things like this that enabled me to I hate the word thinking outside the box, but it's really the relevant word. You had to think outside the box in order to survive that way. And I even had the director of the state of Illinois want me to teach classes on it because at one point he said, I think you've got to be the only person in the nation that is pretty successful without doing any real estate. So I want you to teach this. And I don't know if that ever panned out or not, but it's things like that type of thinking. And those devices can be a plus to you. So I was also, has anybody else got a comment about Bruno or any of the other speakers that we've had, Bruno or Daryl Festa or Kai up in Canada that makes the sniffer equipment that I'm so crazy about? Anybody else got any comments about any of the guest speakers we've had?
I assume people are appreciating those as we bring them in. I'm not seeing anything over on Facebook or YouTube quite yet on comments, but I know we do have a handful of people watching over on Facebook. So
Good,
if you got a
good.
question, jump in here.
Well, I know how tough it is. Before I came in here, Lynn, my daughter that runs this business, she says, "Well, Dad, you know how few people can stop their job at 3 o'clock in the afternoon to go sit down and watch you guys. So they're all watching it later."
Yeah.
But she said, "Could you have stopped doing your radon job on Wednesday afternoons just to watch Dave Smith and Ben sit there yakking?" No, I couldn't
No.
have done it even if it
Yeah.
was Bruno or Daryl Fest. I simply could not have stopped doing the radon job I was involved in. So we
We ask
get
this
that.
every once in a while, but I tell you what, if anybody wants to like I am open to other times. So I mean, if some of you guys are early risers and you want to do, 8 a.m. or something like that. I mean, there are options. We try to do it. Obviously, this is kind of middle of the day because it's still 1 o'clock on the West Coast. It's 4 o'clock on the East Coast. And I know that Bud's usually packing up orders at this point of the day. So we were trying to get it, when stuff has already been packed up and UPS has already been out. But I'm certainly open to if there's a better day and a better time that will get more people here.
Well,
Absolutely.
and Ben, every week I'm still telling people that I speak to, I say, "Hey, did you catch that thing with that Bruno did last week?" No, I wish I could, but I'm at work. I'm still saying, "Hey, go to our YouTube channel. You can pull it up anytime." But
Yep.
I think that word's getting out, and I think that today's world, people realize that we're not going to just let it end without the ability to pull it back up. So I think that's helping some. Um,
I did just get a notice today that Facebook Live videos are going to be deleted after 30 days. So I don't. So what that means is that I obviously have all the original videos. I can re-upload those to Facebook, so there'll be a library there. But yeah, these are sitting on the YouTube page as well. If you go to the YouTube page, a lot of times you don't see it right away because it's under the live tab. So you have to click on the times when we were live, and that's where you see it. So when I send out the email each week, I usually try to put the previous ones at the bottom of the email, so you can just click on those, and it'll take you right to the video from the week before. Or we have a few in there. I need to make a page that'll have just all of them, and you could just go through and click them in the library. But they're there.
yeah, good, good, good. Well, if nobody else has any more comments on past things, or I like the idea of doing something about the ductwork uh, that treatments that we were talking about earlier. Um, I was going to cover the new fans again a little bit because that's another thing I continue to get questions about is people are having a little bit of a struggle with that. I mean, if you're used to buying the same thing for 15 or 20 years or more, and then somebody comes up and says, "Whoa, now wait a minute, you can't use that anymore." It's a little tough for a lot of people to understand. Swallowing's one thing. I got just a few of those guys are like, oh yeah, anything to raise the price, but it just is a new UL rule. In my opinion, it's 25 years overdue. Uh, and I'm not typically that opinionated about something, but I believe that um, having a secondary thermal protection is something that should have been done many, many years ago. And I think that a lot of us know why they probably did that. But I also wanted to just take a minute and say, there's so many rumors going around, and yes, we have a whole line of fans meant to do anything from attics to exterior. The existing fans still exist; they still do anything but an attic. I think I'm getting that across to most people, but it all has to do with the UL deciding that a single thermal overload is not sufficient in an attic because if it fails, a fan could very well overheat and cause a problem. And so I think that most of us have been around a while will agree with that. But I also think that we're awful excited about what Festa and EBM motor manufacturing in Germany, what they collectively came up with, and it was a long process, and we're real excited. All the fan manufacturers had a big challenge here that was haunting all of them, and they all came up with different solutions. Uh, but I feel I'm prejudiced, but I feel that Festa came up with the best solution. He's the only one that came up with a 40% increase in the warranty because of his confidence in his solution. So it's the only fan that has a 7-year warranty. But I look at that warranty as, you know what, Daryl Festa, you must be pretty confident in your new product. And EBM was part of that too, where they said, absolutely, with this new fan, between the electronic components and the other devices that you've used with them, we believe a 7-year warranty is very much warranted. And so, having said that, it's my belief, since I'm so confident of Vesta's um, solution, and since it is the only fan in the industry with a 7-year warranty, I think everyone should give them a try. I don't care whether you buy fans from any other company. You owe it to your customers. If there's somebody out there with a new product that has a better warranty and has the uh, and still meets the criteria, I think that as a professional, maybe you need to try. I believe that I may start making some phone calls next week, but I believe everybody ought to give these fans a try. And it's a little bit early in the game, but I'm getting nothing but positive feedback from people. Jim, have you used any of them yet?
We're going to switch completely over to them.
Have you used some of them yet?
Jordan, you're on here.
Well, that's right. You can't use them in Florida, right?
Well, Jordan, have we used any of the new ones yet?
Yeah, we've been using them. We've probably only installed maybe 7 or 8 so far. Um, I tell you what, we got one of the Eagle Extremes early on when they kind of first came out, and they have definitely made some changes to those Eagle Extremes from the initial impact we had on them. When we first installed them, they were noisy. We were like, man, these are hard. You pretty much have to install a muffler with them. Now they're really smooth and pretty quiet. I feel like they're quieter than the regular Eagle even. So because they didn't come out with the Eagle EC, Daryl said, well, the Eagle Extreme is an EC, so you'll have the 7-year warranty on the Eagle Extreme. So we converted to where now if we have to use an Eagle, we're using an Eagle Extreme. But yeah, we've installed some of the Mavericks. Yeah, they're smooth and quiet, and I feel good about them. We'll see how they hold up, but so far I've been impressed, and we're gonna try to use them in some situations where we have maybe a little bit of a tighter aggregate. and see with the extra suction power they have, see if we can get away with using Mavericks more often and not having to switch to an Eagle or Eagle Extreme.
Are you
So
having that conversation with the homeowner? Are you selling that as an upgrade? How
no,
has that conversation been? And I assume you're charging a little bit more for it as well.
yeah, so we are charging a little bit more. We raised our prices across the board just to kind of cover that. To be honest, I just started being able to sell it to the customers because I wanted to make sure all of our previous stock was out first. But so now we are completely on ECs, and I've just had that conversation with a couple homeowners, and they were pretty impressed with a 7-year warranty. So I'm excited to be able to offer that. That's a pretty easy selling point to just set us apart from at least our main competitor in the area. But,
Well, Jordan, I appreciate what you said because I I know the same thing. That Eagle Extreme is now possibly even quieter than the Eagle anyway. A lot better performing and quieter, number one. Number two, I want to go back to the replacement thing, but number two, I want, and I'm pestering Daryl about this. I want to be able to not only to go to, I'm doing a big show uh, for the Illinois conference or the mid-state conference in a week or so. And I want to be able to say, okay, if you install one of these Mavericks, for instance, you're going to get a 7-year warranty now, but you're also going to get a product that uses 30% less energy than the old Maverick. So I'm like, Daryl, Vesta, give me numbers. I don't want to just stand there and say, well, no, it's more energy efficient. People like numbers. If I can say it's going to use 25, 20, 30% less energy than the fan they would have bought from me 2 months ago, or then maybe uh, the fan that they probably will buy if they don't use me, then give me some numbers because as I just repeat, not to get repetitive as I am, but people like numbers. They don't want me just stand there and say, well, it uses less energy. But if I say it uses 25% less energy, it's a big deal. And I think almost as big a deal as an extended warranty. So you and I need to bug Daryl more.
yeah, I completely agree with you. I want to have the numbers on that as well because you got to be able to tell people, and in situations where it's a fan that we're replacing, an older fan that might
Yeah.
be under warranty still, we're replacing. I want to be able to sell them on, well, for this much extra, we can upgrade it to an EC fan.
Yes.
And it's going to save you this much in energy.
Yeah.
And now you're going to have a 7-year
Right.
warranty on the new fan rather
Yeah.
than just replacing it with the same fan so that
Uh-huh.
hopefully we won't have to carry any more of the older fans. But
Yeah, and I'm getting hints at the energy numbers that totally paying for the fan, that they're
good.
that much of an energy saving uh, number. But also on the subject of just going ahead and using an Eagle Extreme opposed to an Eagle, I've got one customer down south that is in a situation where Eagle is his main fan, and he's having a real struggle with this because he does all attic installations. It just happens to be the area he's in, big homes, not the greatest substrate in the world, all new homes, big southern mansions, and even a brand new home is taking multiple suction points. But anyway, his main fan's an Eagle, and I'm telling you, all the customers I got, he's the only one that is this. But we've talked him into, Daryl and I have talked to him and talked to each other. We've talked him into the Prowler EC because we're convinced that the Prowler EC doesn't quite have the pressure ability of an Eagle, but it has a lot more volume than some high suction fans. And so there's a point where volume comes into it. So at say 2 inches, a Prowler is going to push twice as much air at 2.5 inches, twice as much air as a high suction Eagle. And so I'm really anxious. I sent him out 15 today. I sent him out 15 Prowler ECs today, and he was 95% Eagles. So I'm real anxious to hear from him. And he's got some Eagles left. And I said, take a couple houses for me, swap put an Eagle on, put a Prowler on, put an Eagle on, put a Prowler on, do your pressure field extension testing, and tell me what you think is happening. But the bottom line is result. And so we're really hoping that we've got him talked into uh, Prowler, and one he is convinced the Eagle Extreme is too noisy and he doesn't want to use it. Well, I can't convince him that the new one is quieter. He's got it in his head, you know.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. We were worried about switching to the Eagle Extremes because I don't know what they did when they made a change, but we had the Eagle Extremes early on. One of our installers has one on his house, and he just installed a newer Eagle Extreme the other day, and he was like, "That is so much quieter than the one I have on my house." So
Yeah,
they made a change to him. I think that guy should try the Eagle Extremes out because they are substantially quieter
yeah,
than I remember.
yeah. I agree. I have some of my uh, closest installers telling me the same thing. Hey, I'm not buying any more Eagles. In the first place, I don't. A lot of guys don't necessarily use high suction fans in attics very often, but what they're telling me is, no matter where they use it, that Eagle Extreme they believe is even quieter than the Eagle now, the newer one. So I'm glad you
I
feel the same way.
It definitely seems like it's smoother, so it doesn't have as much vibration as the Eagle.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the EC component of it.
Well, right, and I think I would have to have Daryl speak for himself, but I know that he added the components we talked about last week to do a better job at diverting moisture from the bearings and dirt. But I wonder what else he did to that Eagle Extreme, because we're going to have to ask him that question too, you and I, because there's something going on with that Extreme. I agree with you with that Eagle Extreme being quieter. And when all of the EC motors came out, that was one of his bragging things: better performance, longer lasting, a lot less energy, and quieter. Well, now I have to agree with him on that Extreme, but I want to know what he did. And maybe it wasn't him. Maybe it was the motor manufacturer found a tweak to it. But that's an interesting conversation, because we sure are in agreement there.
So the Prowler is a cheaper fan, right?
Yeah, the Prowler's let me see. The Prowler is uh low voltage. Oh, I'm sorry. The Prowler EC. Let me see here. I got so many different charts on fan prices now. The Prowler EC is 209, and and the Eagle Extreme is 227.
So David, you just lowered your sales volume.
Well, I don't want to lose this customer either. He's got the competition calling him daily, saying now now you're losing your ability to work in the attics. It's time for you to come talk to us. So Daryl and I both called him today, because uh, the last thing I want to do is I haven't lost a customer in a long time, and uh, as a matter of fact, I gained at least one this week because of they were so excited about what was offered about the EC. But I'm working pretty hard to keep him. I'll gladly sell him Prowlers. And that was one of his problems. He said, "Well, look, I was buying an Eagle from you for years and years at 179. Now you want a whole bunch more money for a fan, and I've got a competition knocking on my door offering to sell me fans for about the same price you've been selling them to me. Why should I pay you $45 more?" So is as a distributor, you learn real quick how much $40 means to a mitigator.
Yeah, so the Prowler EC, the max pressure is 3.25
Yes,
inches.
yes.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, and Daryl on the phone this morning said the new tweaking is 3.4, but he said it will push twice the volume as uh, he was referring to other fans besides his own, but he says it can push twice the volume, like 180 cubic foot a minute, opposed to most high suction fans top out at about 90. So there's a point where pressure and volume have to be a combination, maybe I'm guilty of leaning on the pressure side so much I'm not paying enough attention to the volume. But his argument with my customer and I today was, look, you're pushing a lot more volume with this too. And so I think it's possible that that Prowler EC might be the go-to fan. And then in the case where you're not happy with your test, whatever type testing you do, if you're not happy or you have the least bit of concern, then you can switch to the. So I'm not sure a combination. What we're telling him is, like I say, he's allergic to this uh, uh, Eagle Extreme because he thinks it's too loud. So I can't get him back on that track. But in your case, and in my case, for instance, I'm not too sure that a combination of the two might be the answer because really, if you don't need an Eagle Extreme, if you're going to get a 1.8 with an Eagle Extreme or a 1.9 with a Prowler EC, then put the Prowler on. So it might be, Jordan, as we all get into this a little bit more, we might learn more and we might tweak our thinking a little bit.
Yeah, we thought about trying the Prowler EC. It is intriguing. Usually, if we're using an Eagle, I mean, we're at 3.8 to 4 inches with an Eagle. If
Sure,
we're using that, we're
sure.
it's almost maxed out. So that's interesting. I mean, I'm not opposed to trying it, but I've been pretty impressed with the Eagle Extreme. I know they're more expensive, but you obviously you get the benefit of flow and pressure with the Eagle Extreme.
Well, in the case of the customer I'm talking about, great big footprints with just half good substrate material. He's coming in at that 3 range on his Eagles. And so he's an example where the Prowler should be a good fit. Because he's got a little bit less pressure than you and I usually pull the Eagle out for. So it's interesting.
The other thing, David, is if we guarantee a job, we don't want to be going back changing fans.
That's right.
We want to try to get it right the first time. And we have all extremes of substrate underneath the houses in this area.
Yes.
We got great gravel or we got clay. So we make an educated guess. We really don't want to be wrong.
That's right. And I always tell people you can go back a second time, but if you have to go back a third time, they start calling your competition because they think they got the wrong guy. I've had them call my competition and say, "Well, I called so and so," and I would say, "Yeah, I taught him." But you're right. I mean, I try to counsel people every day. That's one reason I can't retire because I have people call me every day saying, "Hey, Dave, what do you think?" And the funny thing about that, Jim, is I just sit there and let them talk because they know the right thing to do. They just don't have anybody to talk to. And so by the time we're done with the conversation, 90% of the time I'm like, I like your idea. Do what you just told me you thought you should do. You have the right idea. I don't know why you called me. But it works funny that way. But I agree with you. If you think you're going to have problem, I don't like to use anything in between. Just boost it on up. And that's a good argument for the Eagle Extreme for sure. But I've never been much of one to use regular prowlers or hawks because my opinion is you need to move on up so you don't go back a third time. But I'm thinking this Prowler Extreme is going to tempt me more. I think one of my main users is as soon as he's out of his Eagles on the shelf, he uses an Extreme when he needs an Extreme, but when he thinks he can get away with an Eagle, he's going to the Prowler instead of the Extreme. So maybe I'm just going to take a better look at the Prowler EC as an option.
Yeah.
What do you think, Ben?
I got to turn
Well,
on all
yeah,
my.
Jordan, we like
it turned on all my microphones. I've been using prowlers in my day-to-day marketing almost exclusively. I've got 1,000 of them on the shelf. I give them out to people just at the mall, in parades. Kids love when you throw them a prowler. I mean, I really found that's
Uh,
my job here today is to make sure everything works.
yeah, yeah,
Catch
that's
me off
right.
guard.
Well, we're working on one new product that has to do with noise suppression. We have regular mufflers or noise reducers, whatever you want to refer to them as, and we're working on a new product. We're kind of in the early phases of that, and I have a friend that's adapted this to his very successful business, and so I said, well, let me play with it a little bit. So we're doing the doing some experimenting and some testing on a new product that we might come up with. Last year's new product was the uh, access panel with the label on it, and we were pretty proud of that. As simple as it is, that's been highly successful, and we market it as this is so nice because when you have a sump emergency, you're either handy enough to do it or you got the neighbor or the plumber there, and all of them can read the top of that lid and gain access to your sump uh, for some help. And so anyway, this year we're working on a little bit of a noise reducing item because I can't just let everything sit. I have to be working on something. But we'll keep you informed at where we are at it. You got anything to add, Ben?
I got it. Oh, I guess I'm already unmuted. I last week I asked a question over on Facebook and got some good answers. I'm interested to see what maybe David, what you would say was. I asked what is one tool for your radon business that you splurged on that you can't live without, and what is a tool that you wish you had but you haven't pulled the trigger on yet. And almost immediately somebody was saying Kai's sniffer was something
Yeah,
that's obviously kind of a big purchase for a lot of guys,
yeah.
and that has changed their business significantly. So
Most valuable tool I ever bought,
yeah,
by far.
yeah,
And I always say that I'll take that sniffer and a radon eye to pressure field extension testing any day, because the ultimate answer to radon is not in the pressure field extension test; it's in the result. And this sniffer is just incredible what it does. But I'd say my second tool is, and I'm such a nice guy. I bought this within 6 months of me selling that part of my business to my foreman, but I bought one of those Milwaukee cordless core drills. And, it's got a battery about as big as my riding mower, but holy cow, we're core drilling 5 inch holes, or they're called core drilling 5 inch holes in 4 minutes.
crazy.
And I just can't get over how, I mean, 4 minute holes just was unheard of 10 years ago. And with a cordless tool,
Yeah.
uh,
Somebody
so
did
I would,
mention the Easy Core System drill from US Saw. I had to look that one up to see that's a pretty impressive core drilling tool as well.
yes, yes, I kind of have a feeling that many people have come up with the concept of doing that. I think that the first one we noticed was the Milwaukee, and I just took a chance on one based on the reviews, based on the comments from the real construction guys. When you read a comment, if you really pay attention to comments, you can tell whether it's a real guy or not. And
Yeah.
when I had these real guys on the road talking about this thing, I said, you know what? I think it was $3,600. And I thought, just to be nice to that poor guy that was buying my radon business, I'm going to get one of these for him. And what a tool it is. But on the sniffer a little bit, holy, when when sniffers first came out, the company that I used to buy fans from that was selling them, I was first in line to buy one. And then the early versions they said were 80% accurate, and I thought to myself, wait a minute, my guesswork is 80% accurate. I don't need another tool that's 80% accurate. My own knowledge and intuition's 80%. But this thing that Kai creates, he spends 6 months a year, my understanding from talking to him, he spends 6 months a year making safety equipment for the uranium miners,
Hmm.
testing equipment for the uranium miners, and then he takes the other 6 months of the year and makes uh, radon sniffing equipment. And he jokingly says, Dave, if you keep talking about this stuff, I can't make these things quick enough. He says every time somebody calls, they use the word David Smith, and we just laughingly talk about that. But uh, he does a good job making this equipment, and I just think it's a cut above anything I've ever seen.
I actually asked the question because I was scrolling through Facebook and I was looking at a video, and then it go. If you look at one video, then you start looking at other videos, and a demonstration came in my feed, and I have never heard of this. Maybe you guys are in construction. The I'm not sure how to say the name of the brand. Is it Knipex? KNIPEX tools? Have you heard of those? Um, it They take a pair of pliers. It's a pair of Cobra pliers, and I was just looking to see if I could find the. Yeah, I'm gonna share my screen, and I'm gonna see if I can show this and if you can actually hear it. Here's the okay. So in theory, you can see my screen, right?
Yeah.
Let's see if you can hear this. So this is what I saw. Knipex.
Huh.
I had not seen that, and like I said, they were doing that at a trade show, and these are $80 pliers, but then and it just comes right off. There's nothing on it. I saw one that they had needle nose pliers, um, and the guy said he went over to he was a mechanic, and he goes over to one of his guys. He goes, "Hey, I'm going to ask you something, but you can't say no." And the guy's like, "Whatever." He hands him the needle nose pliers and said, "Go over." And they walk over to the wall, and there's an structural beam on the side of the wall that has a down side. He said, "Grab that beam with the pliers," and he grabs the beam with the plier, and then they kick the chair out from underneath of him, and he's hanging by the pliers. And the reason is it not only has the two spots of the pliers, but it also has a third kind of shifted space as well that allows a third point of contact, but it's also shaped that you could like almost like a socket. So and then he picks up a quarter with it by the rim of the quarter on the outside. So it's that fine of a tool, and I'm like, now I want every single one of these tools in my toolbox. So I didn't know if people had heard about them. I thought that might be a good giveaway for me to give away some of these if I bought some of them.
Yeah. If they weren't $80 a piece,
Right?
it looks like it might be worth it.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
you know, yeah, I lost a note on this, but on a totally unrelated subject, um, Ben and I talked a little bit about this morning, but we did a bunch of videos in the old days. But there was one video before COVID. American Lung Association had a little grant from the state of Illinois, and they taught the incoming radon mitigators the licensing class. And some of you may not know, Illinois has their own licensing. They didn't don't and still don't require the national. They have their own. But anyway, they had the American Lung Association teaching a class, and then they sent out these questionnaires after every class. They got the same reply every time. You taught me all about radon, except nobody taught me how to do it. I'm standing in a house trying to do my first radon system and don't know how to do it because you didn't teach me anything. Well, anyway, they came to me and said, "Is there any way that you can do a video showing people how to do radon?" And I'm like, "I don't know. Let me talk to Ben and think about this." Well, anyway, Ben and I and my crew went down there and we did a video. I Ben disagrees with me. I think it was called the 10 Steps of Basic Radon Mitigation. And we actually filmed everything from flashing a roof in to core drilling a hole to caulking and everything that would help people. So that video became part of the yearly class that was offered, or the class that was offered to for incoming mitigation professionals. And we're going to make that. I left it with the American Lung Association. I gave it to them. And it's always been available on their website, but hard to get to. Ben and I made the decision for the new guys coming in. Uh, Maybe it'll help. I always try to refer them to it, and they have trouble finding it. So we're going to make it available for those new guys that are like need a little bit of a confidence booster. So anyway, that's going to be available now, and we worked with them on that. We worked with them also. They had the grant for the CE credits for all the health departments. So every year, um, we taught a class to the all the health departments in Illinois. Uh, on radon to get their CE credits. And it was funny because the same questionnaire that went out to the people that had just got the test went to all the health departments. What can we do to improve our service to you? And every one of them said, "We're tired of sitting in a classroom situation. We want on the job things." So we had to be real creative. We had them using tools. We did, I think one year we did a gymnasium and filmed it for 7 hours and then edited the film. And then I just talked about the film and the people were actually in the gymnasium. But anyway, we did a lot of work and this was all pre-COVID and COVID seemed to change a lot of things. But working with the American Lung Association um, was a pretty good experience for us. But now we're going to make that video available so that somebody coming into this industry that I think some of us old timers forget that it's kind of hard on your confidence that first job you do. I came from the building industry, so I was like, yeah, this is no big deal, but it was. It was a big deal, and so anything that any of us can do to help the new guys coming in, I think the rest of us are going to have plenty of business the way this industry is going. Uh, but anyway,
I
that's
just found
films
them.
now.
I just found the videos, and it's the Radon Mitigation Educational Series from the American Lung Association, the Healthy Air Solutions. So, episode 1 is suction points, episode 2 is fans, 3 is pipes and fittings, 4 is discharge points, 5 is sealing sump basins and other openings, 6 is sealing cracks and joints, 7 is system warning devices, 8 is labeling, 9 is diagnostic tools, and 10 is crawl spaces. And that was a little more than 5 years ago. We must have done that right before COVID. And the number of views on this is, I mean, the first one I pulled up had fewer than 500 views, and so we've got hundreds of thousands on the videos that we're putting on our channel. So we'll make sure that we make that available for people to see, so that more people can see it for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Well,
I've got
I don't know if we got anything else. If you've got more on your agenda,
I've got the last grandkid basketball game tonight, so I'm going to head out to that.
nice.
And we're gonna miss next week, right, Ben, with you being on vacation?
I'm thinking, I wish it were vacation. I'm going to spend a week with about a dozen or 2 dozen other agency owners, and we are going to we're doing some intense training on blowing up our clients' businesses and making them millions and millions of dollars. So we got some great information that I'm getting next week. I doubt that I will. I haven't seen the agenda if I can break free, but we'll assume that we're probably not going to connect next week. So
Okay. Remember your friends if you do get wealthy, by the way.
no. These are. I'm saying that the people that have hired me, those are the people that get to make the millions, right? So it's I you know the reason that we do this is and the reason that you go to um, the stakeholders meetings and the symposiums and to come here and again big plug, we're 2 weeks away 3 weeks away from the Chicago one. Dave and I will both be there. I'll be speaking at that one. And so we hope to see you guys there. I know that there's going to be at least 100 Radon guys there. You should be picking, as we change to the new fans and we get new techniques and the new core drilling, tool, and like, what can we do to make it faster? What can we do to lower the numbers even more? Like, these are the things you're learning. The stuff I'm learning at my agency meetings, and I do this meeting several other hours during the week where I'm in groups of agency owners that just do SEO, is we just go through and dissect what Google has changed this week. We go through and dissect what Google ads are different. We go through and look at, the trends in SEO and the way that we need to change this one little piece of code inside of every website and every page that we do, because this stuff is constant. We're always trying to appease the Google gods and to make sure that we're doing what they're asking. And so the first part is to figure out what they're asking, and then the second part is how do we do it, and then the third part is obviously the implementation. And so this is what Bruno said last night. You should not be doing your own website. You are not going to be as successful with SEO as I'm going to be, and I'm not going to be as good at doing radon mitigation as you're going to be. We stay in your lane, right? And so I know in the same way that when, as a mitigator, if you go to a stakeholders meeting, you are going to, if you are there in person, you are going to get more out of it than if you watch it on a Zoom. If you go to the symposium, each year, the annual meeting, you're going to get more out of it than you're going to get on these. This is a great, stopgap to that, but like going to that and just immersing yourself into it. So yeah, I go to these throughout the year where I am just surrounded by people who are literally running, 10, 20, $30 million agencies, and they're working for concrete people, they're working for spray foam people. We all have our lane that we work in, and so we just share everything we know because we're not competing with each other. We know that we're taking it back and we're making our clients that much more successful with the tools that we're getting. So it's a huge investment for me to go, but it pays off in the same way that I can't recommend enough. Don't just go to the things to get the CE credits. Go because it's going to make you better at your job. I know the CE credits are important, but get better at your job, and it's going to make you more money because you might be able to do it faster. You might be able to go from getting it down to 2.9 or 2.7 down to 1.5, and that's something you get to sell when we're marketing you. You start using a better fan, you use the EC fans, like the Duns are now going exclusively to that, right? So now that's something that we market for them in their marketing. So it changes as you adapt to the way that things are done. So that's it.
All right, everybody. We'll either probably see you in 2 weeks, and appreciate everybody that's spending time with us. Hope you got something out of it again today.
Absolutely. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
Bye.
Bye.